And in this next section here, we're going to write an equation for the nth term for the following sequence, and it's finding the explicit formula. So what it's doing is it's going to take our nth term formula that we just talked about, which was an equals a1 plus n minus 1 times d, and it's going to let you get more specific for that particular sequence, and we're going to do number 23. So we're still going to have an, and we're going to have n on the right side of our formula, but we're going to know some things if we're given the first few terms of the sequence. So we're finding the explicit formula for that particular sequence when we know what a1 and what d are, and we can plug them in. So if you notice, the first few terms are listed here, 9, 19, negative 1, negative 11. So a1 is 19. I can figure out d for this particular sequence by taking a term and subtracting the term in front of it. So 9 minus 19, so that would be negative 10. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take that formula and I'm going to say an is equal to, but I know what a1 is. a1 is 19, and then it's plus n minus 1, but I also now figured out what d was, which is negative 10. And we actually want to clean up and simplify the right-hand side a little bit. Notice I've got this negative 10 multiplied by the binomial n minus 1, and I have to multiply first. So I distribute that. Okay, so it's going to be an equals, I'm not going to do anything with the 19 right away, but then it's going to be plus negative 10n. If I do my negative 10 times n, I'm going to write it as minus 10n. And then negative 10 distributed to negative 1 would be plus 10. And now notice you can combine some like terms here. So I'm going to have an equals 19 plus 10 is 29 minus 10n. So that's what we call the explicit formula, using the nth term formula, but getting more specific for this particular sequence. Remember, this general formula is for any sequence. We're just getting a little more specific, knowing what a1 and what d are. Okay, let's go on now to section 1b, and we're going to find the arithmetic means. Now, arithmetic means are basically finding the missing terms between two known terms in an arithmetic sequence. So it's finding the missing terms between them. Sometimes that could be 2 terms, sometimes it could be 3 terms, whatever. Now I've got some hints on your reference sheet about finding the arithmetic means, but we're going to look at number 32 right here. So let me move this over. So notice I've got 8, and then I've got these 2 blanks right here, and then I've got 98. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to call this one A1. I'm going to call that A1. I'm going to call this A4, because notice I've got 2 missing terms in between, which would be A2 for my second term in the sequence and A3. This is also the last term in the sequence, so we're going to call it AN. When we talk about AN, it's usually the last term. But we know that it's A4, so that tells us that n equals 4. So now I could try and figure this out by trial and error, knowing that I've got to add the same amount, but this works for every problem. And so what you want to do then is go to your nth term formula, which is an equals a1 plus n minus 1 times d, and I'm going to put in an. Now an is 98, so over on this side I'm going to put 98. I'm going to put 8 in for a1, so right here I'm going to have 8 plus, I know that n is 4 because there will be 4 terms total right here. 8 and 98 are on my 2 outside terms, my first and my fourth term, but then I'm missing my second and third term, but there'll be 4 terms total, so I'm going to put 4 in here. And so if I do 4 minus 1 right here, this would be 3 times d. Now notice I have an equation linear equation there, and I just got to solve for d. So I'm going to subtract 8. I'm going to subtract 8, so 90 is equal to 3d. I'm going to divide by 3, so d is equal to 30. So what I've done is filled everything into that nth term formula and figured out what d is. Remember, d is what you're adding between terms. So now, if I know this is 8, I'm going to add 30. So 8 plus 30 would mean this would be 38. And then I'm going to add 30 to 38, and that'd be 68. And then just check to make sure it gets to your final term there after your last blank. And if I add 30 to 68, I get 98. So finding my arithmetic means is my missing blanks in between them. And so if I just list the answer, it'd be 38 and 68. There's only two arithmetic means or missing terms here.